So this is the story, my story about living in a crack house. And I want to start off by saying that this obviously is a low light of my childhood, but it's also a highlight. So it's not necessarily a sad story, but here it is. So I want to start off by saying how I ended up living in a crack house. So growing up in the Bronx, we had gone from apartment to apartment, and that was kind of like our deal. And we reached a point where my parents decided to rent a house. And so we moved to the Soundview part of, or section of the Bronx. And it was kind of like suburban, just compared to any other place that we lived in. It had a suburban feel to it. And it was just total homes. And so we had our house, and I don't know if this had anything to do with being in suburbia, but it seemed like things went downhill super fast. Like they were always on drugs, there was always domestic violence, but it just seemed to, it was happening so much, so often, and just, you know, neither one of them being home, that happened a lot, and just it was more constant and more of the norm. And I think my dad eventually got to the point to where he just stopped coming by altogether. And, you know, he was with my stepmom, and we knew that, but it got to the point where he was just staying with her and not with us anymore. And so eventually my mom, I remember this vividly, she took us to his job and said, "Hey, I need money to feed the kids." And him saying, I'm not giving you money because you're just gonna spend it on drugs. So she said, "Okay, well, then take the kids." So he goes, "Okay, everybody get in the car." So everyone filed into the car except for this one here. I was a mama's boy, and I wanted to stay with my mama. So I did. And they're arguing. I remember at some point I grabbed my baby sister, and my other sister got out the car as well. I remember my mom trying to stab my dad with a screwdriver and me getting in the way. I also remember my dad trying to run us over with his car afterwards. I don't know if it was just to scare us or, you know, to scare my mom, I should say, but that happened. And then we ended up moving into this home. It was a street away from where we lived at. And it's kind of weird because as a kid, you kind of shield yourself from seeing the truth. I thought it was just a home where random people just lived all together, but it was not. It was a crack house, or, you know, whatever drug that they were on, but that's the name of it. And that was the situation. We had this room. It was a tiny room where there was just enough space for a bed or a mattress. We didn't even have a bed, but a mattress, and then a dresser with a 13-inch black and white TV that maybe had 3 or 4 channels, and our door wasn't even secured. It was off the hinges, and so we would just like move it, close it, you know, we did that situation. And that's how we lived. We lived that way. The other thing is that I think it was my sixth grade year was beginning in school, but I didn't go to school. Instead, what we did was that we went out and my mom stole. So every day we would go to different department stores and grocery stores, and my mom would steal stuff. And afterwards we would go to the beauty salon and she'd sell it. We even had requests for things for her to steal. But she was so good. Like, she was really good. I would never see her do it. We would just go into the store and we'd come out and she'd just be taking stuff out, and wow, how did you do that? So as a kid, I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at it through a kid's set of eyes, and to me, it was just amazing that my mom was this smart, and so, you know, she was so good at it, and I wasn't going to school. You know, I was doing this instead. And so after my mom sold the stuff, we would go to a restaurant. She'd, you know, buy us a burger and fries and say, "I'll be right back." And she'd go get her fix. And then afterwards, we would go to like the candy store or the comic book store, and she'd buy us little toys, little trinkets. And that was our life for months. That's kind of how we lived. And again, as a kid, I thought it was I thought it was great, to be honest with you. But eventually got to the point where my mom, I think she wanted better for us. Or maybe she got arrested. I'm not really sure what the situation was, but she just didn't come home one day. And I would have been happy just continuing on living that way, but one of our neighbors, my mom's good friend, she ended up calling my dad. He came and he got us, and I'll spare the details, but I was not happy. I didn't want to go, and it was not a good situation for me, but ended up, eventually they got me in the car and went over to my stepmom's, and she enrolled me into the local school there, 6th grade. And by this point, I think it was maybe January, February, I want to say, maybe February. So I get enrolled into the school, and they say, we're probably going to have to hold him back a year because he's missed so much of the school year. And my stepmom, who I will say initially we did not get along, but she said, he's smart, test him, just test him. So they tested me, and they said, okay, he can stay in the 6th grade. So the remainder of the year I stayed, finished out the year. And this is the highlight of this story for me, at least, is that at the end of the year, I got different, got money. Like my grades were superb, and I ended up getting these bonds, and just because of my performance. And they said, hey, if he stays in the school district, we'll let him skip a grade. He's super smart. And for me, it's like, after all of that I went through, just to know that I reached this point to where not only was I went from, oh, we're gonna have to hold him back, to he can skip a grade, and here's money. This is how well he's doing. Eventually, my stepmom, she didn't speak much English, and she didn't really like the school that I was in, the district that I was in, so she ended up moving me to a bilingual junior high school. Another story, because Spanish was not my first language. But it was, I can't believe when I think of this story, I think of myself as a survivor, because I went through all of that, and it was a moment, I got to the point to where I used all of that stuff to my advantage, and I used it to benefit myself, and to just kind of propel myself into the situation to where I was strong, and I used the incidents to make me stronger. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I needed to tell the story just because it was a highlight for me in so many ways, even though it didn't start off that way. And so I just want to share that with you guys. So if you have gone through something similar, I would really love to hear it, to know that I'm not alone in a situation like that. And I know there are some of you out there who have gone through something similar, so please let me know. Tell me your story. You can like, you can subscribe, but comment. More importantly, let me know if you've gone through something similar. Let me know if it's anything close. I just want to hear it, okay? Until next time.